Welcome to Read and Learn English. I'm truly happy that you're here, because today we're going to talk about something that every learner faces, but very few people understand deeply. Before we begin, let me ask you a few simple questions. Why do we freeze when speaking English? Why do our words suddenly disappear even after studying for hours? Why do simple conversations feel so heavy, so stressful, so full of pressure? If you've ever felt these things, you are not alone. Millions of learners around the world feel the same. You study vocabulary, but when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank. You learn grammar, but the moment you open your mouth, everything mixes together. You want to speak confidently, but fear blocks your voice. Fear of mistakes. Fear of judgment. Fear of saying something wrong. I know these feelings because I lived them too. In the beginning of my English journey, I made so many mistakes that I wanted to quit. I forgot basic words in front of people. I used the wrong tense again and again. I mispronounced simple sounds and felt embarrassed. Sometimes, I even avoided speaking because I didn't want others to laugh at me. Inside my mind, I kept asking myself, why am I so bad at this? Why can't I speak like other people? That self-doubt felt heavy, and it slowed me down for a long time. But everything changed when I discovered one powerful truth, something that completely transformed the way I learn. Mistakes are not the enemy. Mistakes are the greatest teacher. This idea sounds simple, but when you truly understand it, it changes everything. Mistakes show you what to learn next. Mistakes help you remember. Mistakes guide your growth. The problem is not the mistakes themselves, it's the way we react to them. Most learners run away from mistakes, but the learners who grow fast are the ones who use mistakes as tools for improvement. And that is what this program, this journey, is all about. In the next chapters, you will learn how mistakes shape your memory, how they build real fluency, and how they can become your strongest advantage. You will learn practical systems to use your mistakes wisely, to build confidence, and to speak naturally without fear. Most importantly, you will learn a new mindset, one that removes shame, removes pressure, and gives you the freedom to enjoy learning again. So take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. You are here to grow, not to be perfect. Let's begin this journey together. Chapter 1. The Real Nature of Mistakes. When you first start learning English, everything feels new, strange, and sometimes even a little scary. You try to speak, but the words don't always come out the way you want them to. You think one thing in your mind, but something different comes out of your mouth. In my early days of learning English, I made so many broken sentences that it almost felt like I was creating my own language. I used the wrong words all the time. Sometimes people smiled politely. Other times, they tried hard not to laugh. And there were moments when their confusion made me feel even more confused. One of the funniest and most embarrassing moments happened with the words hungry and angry. I wanted to tell someone that I had not eaten all day. I wanted to say, I am hungry. But instead, I looked at them with a serious face and said, I am angry. They froze. I froze. For a few seconds, we both stared at each other, trying to understand what was happening. Inside my mind, I was thinking, why does this person look so shocked? Did I say something wrong? And then they asked gently, why are you angry? That's when I realized my mistake. My face became hot, my heart beat quickly, and I wished I could disappear. After that moment, I repeated the words again and again in my head. Hungry, angry, hungry, angry. Now when I look back, I can laugh. But at that time, it felt like a big failure. However, that small mistake taught me something important. It showed me that learning is not about being perfect. It is about being brave enough to try. Everyone who learns anything new starts with mistakes. Think about a small child learning to walk. The child stands up, takes one step, and then falls. They try again, and they fall again. They fall hundreds of times, maybe thousands, but nobody calls the child a failure. Parents don't say, "You fell. Walking is not for you." Instead, they smile, clap, encourage, and sometimes laugh with joy. They celebrate the effort, not the result. Falling is part of learning. Falling is practice. And every fall makes the child stronger. Just like that child, you are learning a new skill, a skill that requires time, practice, and patience. Your mistakes are not signs that you cannot speak English. They are signs that you are learning to speak English. Just like walking, speaking a new language begins with steps that are unsteady, shaky, and sometimes funny. But every one of those steps matters. Mistakes are like seeds planted in the soil of your mind. When you plant a seed, you do not see anything on the surface for a long time. The ground looks empty. It feels like nothing is happening. But deep underground, growth is happening quietly. The seed is opening, roots are forming, and new life is preparing to rise. That's exactly how language learning works. When you make mistakes, you may feel like nothing is improving. You may feel stuck. You may feel embarrassed. But inside your brain, something important is happening. Your mistakes are watering the seed. They are helping the roots of understanding grow deeper and stronger. You may not see the results immediately, but with every wrong sentence, every confused moment, and every small embarrassment, your English is growing underground. Fluency is not an overnight success. Fluency is a tree. And like all trees, it grows slowly, quietly, and naturally. One day, without even realizing it, you look back and see that the seed has become something strong and beautiful. If you look at fluent English speakers today, whether they are teachers, travelers, or professionals, they all have one thing in common. They started with mistakes. They were not born fluent. They were not magically confident from the beginning. They made grammar mistakes. They said strange sentences. They misunderstood people. They felt embarrassed too. But they kept going. They kept trying. They didn't stop just because someone laughed. They didn't quit just because they felt shy. Their secret was not talent. Their secret was courage. They accepted mistakes as part of the process. So here is a powerful reflection for you. You cannot improve without mistakes. You cannot grow without trying. You cannot become confident without first being uncomfortable. Mistakes are not a sign that you are weak. Mistakes are signs that you are moving forward. Every mistake you make is a piece of evidence that you are learning, practicing, and becoming better than you were yesterday. If you want to speak English confidently, you must allow yourself to fall, just like a child learning to walk. Remember this simple truth. Mistakes are not your enemy. They are your guide, your teacher, and your path to success. Embrace them, learn from them, and keep walking forward. Chapter 2. Why we fear mistakes. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in our lives, especially when learning a new language. It can stop us from speaking, from trying, and even from believing in ourselves. But fear is not something that appears suddenly. It grows slowly over time. When we were children, we were not afraid to make mistakes. We tried everything without thinking too much. If we fell, we stood up. If we said something wrong, we laughed and tried again. Children don't fear failure because they don't judge themselves. But as adults, everything changes. We start to worry about how we look, how we sound, and what others think of us. We start to believe that mistakes make us weak or foolish. This is why learning a language feels harder when we grow older, not because we cannot learn, but because fear gets in the way. This fear becomes even stronger when other people are watching. Many learners are not afraid of grammar or vocabulary. They are afraid of being judged. Maybe you have felt this before. The fear of speaking in class, when all eyes are on you and you worry you might say something wrong. Or the fear of talking to strangers because you think they will notice your accent or your mistakes. Or the fear of speaking at work, where you feel pressure to sound professional and perfect. These situations can make your heart beat faster and your voice shake. Even before opening your mouth, your mind imagines the worst. People laughing, people misunderstanding you, or people thinking you are not smart. But in reality, most people are not judging you at all. Your fear is louder than the truth. Still, fear can feel so real that it keeps you silent even when you want to speak. I once taught a student named Sarah. She was one of the smartest people in the class. She understood everything, took perfect notes, and always got high scores on tests. But she almost never spoke. During group discussions, she stayed quiet. During presentations, she avoided eye contact. I could see in her eyes that she wanted to participate, but something inside her held her back. After class one day, I sat with her and asked gently, "Why don't you speak more? You have so much potential." She looked down at her hands and said, "I'm afraid people will think I'm stupid if I make a mistake." She told me that every time she thought about speaking, her mind filled with fear. She imagined people laughing at her. She imagined embarrassing herself. She imagined failing, even though she had never failed before. Her intelligence was not the problem. Her fear was. We talked about it for a long time. I told her that silence protects us, but it also traps us. I told her that speaking, even with mistakes, is the only way to grow. Slowly, she began to speak more. At first, her voice was soft and shaky, but week after week, her confidence grew. And one day, she raised her hand, spoke clearly, and smiled. It was not perfect English, but it was a perfect moment. She broke her fear. She stepped forward, and her entire journey changed. Today, she speaks English confidently because she learned a powerful truth. Fear disappears when you face it. Fear creates a barrier inside the mind, like a thick, invisible wall. On one side of the wall is safety. You feel comfortable, protected, and silent. Nothing can hurt you there. No one can judge you. But on the other side of the wall is progress, new words, new confidence, new opportunities. The problem is that you cannot have both at the same time. You must choose. Silence gives you safety, but it also stops your growth. Speaking gives you progress, but it requires courage. Every learner must decide which side of the wall they want to live on. And the truth is, the wall is not real. It is built from fear, memories, and negative thoughts. When you push through it once, even a little, the wall becomes weaker. Mistakes, in a way, are like mirrors. They show you exactly what you need to improve. They reveal your weaknesses clearly. Without mistakes, you stay blind. You continue speaking the same way forever. never knowing what you are missing. With mistakes, you can see your gaps and fix them. The mirror may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is the only tool that helps you grow. So now I want to ask you something powerful. How many times have you stayed silent because of fear? How many opportunities have you missed because you were afraid of being judged? How long will you let fear control your voice? Remember this. Your English will not improve by staying quiet. It improves when you speak, even if you are not perfect. It improves when you take small risks. It improves when you choose progress instead of silence. You do not need to be fearless. You just need to take one brave step. Fear will always whisper, "Don't speak." But you must answer, "I will try." And when you try, everything begins to change. Chapter 3. Mistakes as the greatest teacher. Mistakes are often the moments we try hardest to forget, but they are also the moments that teach us the most. A textbook can give you rules, examples, and exercises, but a mistake gives you something deeper, a lesson that stays with you forever. When you make a mistake, something powerful happens in your memory. It becomes emotional, memorable, and meaningful. For example, the hungry versus angry incident from my early days of learning English still stays in my mind. That day, I felt tired, stressed, and really hungry. I walked up to a friend and wanted to say, "I am hungry." But because my pronunciation was not good, I accidentally said, "I am angry." He looked shocked. I looked confused. Inside my mind, I quickly tried to understand why he reacted that way. Did I say something wrong? I asked myself. Why is he surprised? I only told him I needed food. When he gently asked me, "Why are you angry?" the truth hit me like a wave. My face turned hot. My heart started beating fast. I felt embarrassed, foolish, and frustrated. But guess what? After that day, I never mixed up hungry and angry again. That one mistake taught me more than any vocabulary list ever could. It burned the lesson into my memory. And that is the magic of mistakes. They teach you in a way that sticks forever. Another mistake that taught me a big lesson came from pronunciation. I remember wanting to talk about going to the beach. But because of my accent at the time, it sounded like a very different, very embarrassing word. I didn't notice at first. I was speaking confidently, explaining my weekend plan. "I want to go to the beach." Suddenly, the person I was talking to raised their eyebrows. Then they started laughing a little. I didn't understand why. What did I say? I wondered as panic rose in my chest. When they finally explained, I felt so embarrassed I wanted to run away. But after that moment, I practiced the long E sound again and again. Beach. I repeated it in my room, on the bus, in front of the mirror. And because of that one uncomfortable moment, my pronunciation improved. If I had never made that mistake, I might have continued saying it the wrong way without realizing it. Sometimes the world teaches us lessons in unexpected ways. I once taught a student who transformed her English through her attitude toward mistakes. She laughed every time she made one. If she forgot a word, she smiled and tried again. If she pronounced something wrong, she giggled and repeated it until she got it right. Instead of feeling ashamed, she felt curious. Instead of getting frustrated, she became more motivated. Because of her open attitude, her English improved faster than almost anyone else in the class. She didn't let fear slow her down. She didn't try to be perfect. She simply learned. I noticed something interesting. The students who tried to be perfect, who stayed quiet and avoided mistakes, improved much more slowly. They had clean notebooks but no real-world practice. They had knowledge, but not confidence. Meanwhile, the student who laughed at her mistakes became fluent because she used them as steps toward improvement. Her mistakes made her grow. Mistakes open new lessons that you cannot learn from a book alone. When you forget a word during a conversation, it becomes a moment you remember. You suddenly feel a strong desire to learn it correctly, and that emotional connection helps you remember it forever. When you use the wrong tense and someone corrects you kindly, the correction becomes meaningful. It makes you understand grammar more deeply because it is connected to a real experience. When you mispronounce a word and feel a little embarrassed, your brain and your tongue work together to fix it. Your mouth learns how to move, and your ears learn how to listen. Every mistake brings a new level of understanding. This is why mistakes are doors to growth. Waiting for the perfect moment to speak English is useless because that moment will never come. If you wait until you feel ready, you will wait forever. Perfection does not create progress. Mistakes do. Every wrong sentence is a door. Every uncomfortable moment is a lesson. Every confusion is a chance to learn something you didn't know before. When you speak perfectly, you learn nothing. When you speak imperfectly, you learn everything. Now, I want to give you a moment of reflection. Think about one mistake you made while learning English. It could be a pronunciation mistake, a grammar mistake, or a misunderstanding. Bring that memory into your mind. Feel the emotion you felt at that moment. Maybe you felt embarrassed, confused, or shy. Now ask yourself, what did that mistake teach you? How did it help you grow? What changed because of it? You will realize something powerful. Your mistakes are not your enemies. They are your teachers, and they have been helping you all along. Chapter 4. How to use your mistakes effectively. Mistakes can either stop your progress or speed it up. The difference depends on how you use them. Every English learner falls into one of two groups. The first type is the student who hides their mistakes. When they say something wrong, they pretend nothing happened. When they forget a word, they change the sentence quickly. They want to look smart, not embarrassed. But because they avoid facing their mistakes, they repeat the same errors again and again. Their English stays the same for years. Then there is the second type, the student who pays attention to mistakes and writes them down. They don't try to be perfect. They try to learn. When they say something wrong, they take a moment to think about it. If someone corrects them, they listen carefully. They write the correction in a notebook or on their phone. And because they treat mistakes like valuable information, their English improves quickly. The difference between these two learners is not intelligence. It is attitude. One hides mistakes, the other uses them. The first practical method to use your mistakes effectively is simple but powerful. Write them down. You can use a small notebook, a notes app on your phone, or even a document on your computer. The important thing is to capture the mistake while it is still fresh. When you write it down, the mistake becomes visible. It becomes something you can study later. I like to think of mistakes as study treasure. They are small pieces of gold that show you exactly what you need to improve. Instead of guessing what you should learn, your mistakes tell you the answer directly. Once you have them written, you can review them at the end of the day or week. Over time, you will see patterns. Maybe you always forget the same words. Maybe you mix up the same tense. Maybe your pronunciation mistakes follow a pattern. When you see your mistakes clearly, you can fix them clearly. The second method is repetition. Writing a mistake down is just the beginning. The real transformation happens when you repeat the correct version many times. This is how you rewire your brain. When you say something wrong, your brain creates a weak, incorrect pathway. To fix it, you need to create a stronger, correct pathway. That takes repetition. A simple model is wrong, correct, repeat. For example, if you said, "He go to work every day," you can correct it to, "He goes to work every day." Then repeat the correct sentence 5 to 10 times. Your brain learns through sound and movement. The more you repeat the correct version, the more natural it becomes. Over time, the correct sentence becomes automatic. Repetition may feel boring, but it is one of the most effective tools in language learning. The third method is asking for correction. Many learners assume that people will automatically correct them, but the truth is, most people don't. They don't want to embarrass you. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They think you prefer to speak without interruption. But if you tell them, "Please correct me if I make a mistake," everything changes. Suddenly, you get real feedback. You learn faster because someone shows you exactly what you're doing wrong. Correction is not criticism. It is guidance. It is like having a coach who helps you avoid bad habits. When you invite correction, you accelerate your growth dramatically. You learn things you would never discover on your own. The fourth method is recording yourself daily. This is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. When you record your voice, you become your own teacher. You can listen to your pronunciation, notice mistakes you didn't hear while speaking, and hear your progress over time. You will discover the words you mispronounce, the grammar you skip, and the moments where your voice sounds unsure. This method turns you into both the student and the coach. At first, it may feel uncomfortable to hear your own voice, but with time, it becomes normal. And the more you record, the more confident you become. I once had a student who used this method every single day. He recorded himself for 5 minutes talking about anything: his day, his plans, his feelings, or a topic he liked. At first, he sounded nervous. He repeated himself often. His pronunciation was shaky. But he stayed consistent. Every night before sleep, he listened to his recording and wrote down 3 mistakes he noticed. Then he practiced saying the correct version. After 1 month, he sounded clearer. After 3 months, he felt more confident speaking with others. And after 6 months, his transformation was incredible. He spoke naturally, with strong pronunciation and almost no hesitation. His secret was simple. He used his mistakes instead of avoiding them. So now I want to ask you a powerful question. Do you want to hide your mistakes, or do you want to use them as your biggest teacher? The choice will shape your entire English journey. Mistakes are not the problem. Ignoring them is. Use them, learn from them, and watch your English grow. Chapter 5. The Power of Repetition After Mistakes. Repetition is one of the most powerful tools in language learning, yet many learners forget about it. They think that making a mistake once and correcting it once is enough. But mistakes alone do not lead to fluency. The real formula is mistake, correction, repetition, fluency. A mistake gives you information. Correction gives you the right direction. But repetition is what builds the bridge between understanding and real speaking. Think of it like learning to play the piano. If you press the wrong note, you hear it immediately. Then you press the correct note. But to remember that correct note, you must play it again and again until your fingers move automatically. English works the same way. Your brain and your mouth must practice the correct version many times. Only then does the mistake transform into fluency. I once taught a student who always confused he and she. She knew the meaning. She understood the difference. But every time she spoke, she mixed them up. At first, she felt embarrassed. She told me, "Why do I always make this mistake? I am not stupid." I explained that it was not a question of intelligence. It was simply a habit, an old, automatic path in her brain. One day, after she mixed them again, I gently corrected her. She smiled nervously and tried to fix it. But instead of correcting it once, I asked her to repeat the correct sentence 5 times. He is my friend. He is my friend. He is my friend. At first, she felt a little silly, but slowly, her voice became clearer and more confident. She started practicing this every day. She chose 5 sentences with he and 5 with she, and repeated them until the words felt natural in her mouth. After a month, the mistake almost disappeared. She didn't fix it with intelligence. She fixed it with repetition. Repetition works because of how the brain forms new pathways. Imagine walking through a forest where there is no clear trail. The first time you walk, the grass bends slightly and the path is hard to follow. That is what happens when you speak a new sentence correctly for the first time. The path exists, but it is weak. If you never walk it again, the grass stands back up and the path disappears. But if you walk the same path every day, the grass stays down. The trail becomes clear. Soon you can walk it without thinking. That is what repetition does to your brain. Every correct sentence you repeat makes the path stronger. And fluency is simply the ability to walk that path automatically. Mistakes become valuable when they lead to repetition. Your mouth learns new shapes. Your tongue moves differently. Your brain begins to recognize patterns quickly. With enough repetition, speaking becomes natural and smooth. Many learners think fluency is about knowing a lot, but fluency is actually about being automatic. And automatic comes from repetition. When you repeat the correct version of a sentence many times, your brain builds what we call muscle memory. Professional athletes use it. Musicians use it. Dancers use it. And language learners must use it too. Words need to become part of your muscles, not just your mind. There are many situations where this method works perfectly. For example, a student might say, "I go to the park yesterday." When corrected, "I went to the park yesterday." They should not stop there. They should repeat the correct one several times out loud. This repetition makes the past tense pattern stronger in the brain. Or consider pronunciation mistakes, like confusing the English R and L. Many learners say rice like lice or light like right. The only way to fix it is by repeating the correct sound again and again until the mouth learns the correct shape. Another common area is word order. Many learners say, "Always I wake up early," instead of, "I always wake up early." Once corrected, repeating the correct order helps it become natural. Repetition is not punishment, it's training. It shapes your voice, sharpens your grammar, and strengthens your confidence. The more you repeat the correct version, the faster your mistakes disappear. The mistake gives you the clue. The correction gives you the solution, but repetition gives you the transformation. So now I want to give you a small challenge, a spike moment. Think about one mistake you made today. Choose one. Now say the correct version out loud 5 times. It may feel simple, but this tiny habit has the power to change your entire English journey. Repetition is the bridge to fluency. And every time you cross that bridge, you become one step closer to the confident speaker you want to be. You have reached the end of this journey, but in truth, this journey never really ends. Learning a language is not a race, and it is not a test with perfect answers. It is a long path filled with real experiences, real challenges, and real growth. And throughout this entire path, mistakes are not the enemy. They are not signs that you are weak or slow or bad at English. They are the clearest, brightest signs that you are moving forward. Think about it. The only people who never make mistakes are the people who never try. But you are trying. You are speaking, practicing, writing, reading, and challenging yourself. Every mistake you make is a small celebration, proof that you took action when many others stayed silent. That takes courage. That takes heart. That takes a determination stronger than fear. You have learned that mistakes are not random accidents. They are teachers. They carry lessons inside them. Lessons that stay with you longer than anything written in a textbook. A mistake, followed by correction and repetition, becomes one step forward on your path to fluency. One small step, and then another, and then another. That is how fluency is built. Not in one big jump, but in thousands of tiny movements that slowly shape your confidence and your skill. No fluent speaker in the world reached fluency without making thousands of mistakes. Every English teacher, every native speaker, every confident communicator you admire, each of them walked through the same fire. They forgot words. They used the wrong tense. They made embarrassing pronunciation mistakes. They felt insecure and uncertain. But they kept going, and so will you. Your goal is not perfection. Perfection is a lie that stops people from starting. Your real goal is progress. Your real path is forward. You will move ahead one conversation at a time, one correction at a time, one brave moment at a time. And every single time you make a mistake, you will smile because you will understand. This is growth. This is learning. This is the moment your English becomes stronger. So speak more, try more, fail more. Be louder, braver, and more open than ever. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Create it by acting now. Every mistake you make is shaping you into the speaker you dream of becoming. You are not just learning English. You are building confidence. You are building courage. You are building a new version of yourself. One who moves through life with clarity, power, and purpose. Keep going. Keep growing. Keep speaking. The world is waiting to hear your voice.